used to testify for what he's done in my life and what he can do in others' lives.
How long have you been a Christian?
I was saved in late 2013, and in 2018 was the day that I truly met Jesus, and I just felt his presence hit me, and he took the veil from my eyes and just showed me the truth of life and the truth of what was destroying me and what was truly needed, and that was him to fill the darkness within my heart, where the other things were only just temporarily filling my heart.
Why did you choose to become a Christian?
Well, I had been on a spiritual journey since 2008. Just had a situation where I felt like the Lord showed me that there was a heaven and there was a hell. What I did in life was going to determine where I went. But after that moment, it took me 8 years to actually find out that it was Jesus. And but over those 8 years, I was trying to work my way to heaven, trying to make the right decision, the right choices, and just kept on going in circles, up, down, up, down. I just ended up taking myself down some of the wrong paths, worldly religions and chakras, meditation, stuff like that, and it ended up leading me to a darker place. It was getting darker as I was trying to better myself. And I had a friend who he came over. We were gonna make a song, and I was like, "Hey, you want to meditate?" And he's like, "Well, what are we meditating on?" I was like, "I don't know, the universe. I don't know. And trust me, it'll give you more lyrics." And he's like, "Well, if we're not meditating on Jesus, I don't really want anything to do with it." And that to me just kind of blew my mind, and got us talking a little bit more about God. And he ended up opening the Word for me, and I just remember the highlights all over the Bible, highlights all over the words, and me looking at this book, who's someone who doesn't read books, thinking like, wow, I hate books. But this man has highlights on every page of the biggest book I've ever seen in my life. And I just remember him reading it and the words just speaking so much power, like so much life, so much love, so much, I just felt the words, and it was infatuating to me. I ended up reading the Word, and it was helping me sleep. So I ended up just reading the Word every night, and it's helped me sleep. And my buddy actually asked me if I wanted to give my life to Christ, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. I thought it meant like being baptized. But he was like, no, you have to ask God in your life, ask Jesus in your life, and he'll come in and he'll change your life. And that night I went to bed and I just asked God in my life, and ended up going to church because my boss randomly asked if I wanted to go to church, and I was like, all right, let's go. Because he didn't even know that I had been going after God. And so I go to church, and because I just remember reading the Word, and I was reading it from the beginning, and I was like, man, this is great, but where's Jesus? You know? And I remember going to church and hearing the pastor, and I was like, that's Jesus. There he is. Not meaning the pastor's Jesus, but who he was talking about. And that day, he was like, I challenge you to come to church every week this month. And I was like, challenge accepted. In that month, I got plugged into a young adults group. I got plugged into everything, and God just started... basically just captured my heart, you know. And at that point, I just went home one day, and I just remember asking God, I'm like, okay, I'm a Christian, and this is it. I know I'm a Christian, I believe it, like, but what does this mean? 'Cause I don't know what it means, you know. And I'm like, can I drink anymore? Can I smoke anymore? Can I you know, if I can't drink on the weekends, life's gonna be boring. That's how I felt, you know. And my friend sent me this song, and when the song started, I just remember just feeling like the presence of God hit me. And then I was like, whoa, what is this? And then it hit me again, and it was just big. And I just felt the presence of God just all over me. And words started, and the words just started speaking to me and telling me, basically, I felt like the Lord was telling me that your question is it's right, but it's wrong. And the thing is that the things that you're asking me about are actually the things that you've been using in your life to fill your heart. And in reality, those things are what are destroying you. And in order for me to move in you in the way I want to move in you, you have to be willing to drop these things at the altar. You have to be willing to no longer let these things be your joy, your happiness, because I will now be your joy and your happiness. And I'm just sitting there, I'm just crying. I hadn't cried in years. I didn't cry when my granddad passed away. But in that moment, I just started crying, and it was just tears of joy, because it was like, oh my goodness, it's like God was like, the problem has been you. Basically, like, you're the one who's been destroying your life with your choices. But I mean, it's not your fault, you didn't really know. You're just trying to fill yourself. But now I'm here for you. You're my son, you're my child. And I'm going to take you out of this place that you're at. I'm going to take you to places you could never even imagine to be. And I just sat there and cried for like 3 hours, man. Just tears of joy. I believe that's the day that the Holy Spirit entered my life, entered my heart. And from that point forward, it was like, well, what do I do now? And then I would go back to my normal life, because it's like, well, this is what I do every day, you know, and I go to my friend's house to smoke a blunt, right? And I felt convicted about it. I'm like, I don't think I should be doing this, like, but this is what I do. So, I smoked, and I just remember the Spirit hitting me. Just starts pointing things out to me, you know, okay, here we are again. I'm not mad, but I want to show you some things. Started showing me the house I was in was filled with satanic worship in there. That there was actually some people that didn't worship Satan, but they liked dark things, and they weren't like worshipers, but they didn't know. They didn't know. But then there's also people who are actually Satan worshipers, and this house was filled with both of these things. And started showing me that the music I was listening to, which was like death metal, was into all that type of stuff, was filled with demonic spirits, and also that when I was like to smoke weed, that actually I was opening my brain to be more susceptible to these type of things, and he just started showing me the dangers, and I ended up, he just started changing my life to the point, you know, he eliminated my addictions, eliminated my even video game addictions. I had a crazy video game addiction, 14 years, destroyed my grades, my school, my family. It was my heroin, you know, never did heroin, but that one destroyed my life in a way similar, I would say. Not anti-video games, but anti-idol, anything that really separates you from God's calling on your life, or if you let it. I think those are things that God wants us to place in His hands. I did, and now I get to travel around the country. You know, I get to see Spokane, Washington, man. Just these people, bro. They're just, I just seen them grow. I just seen their lives change, and it just makes me so happy to be a part of what God's doing in this town and other places. You know, I'm just so happy that He would use me, and all it took was that one yes. And I know this is a long video, but my answers to questions are always kind of deep, because God knows how to reach us. He knows how to reach us in the way that we need to be reached, you know, and He did that for me. So I just feel like telling it all usually.
No, you're fine, Kurtis.
I even skipped a lot of parts.
No, you're fine. What other artists have you been touring with or have toured with that you really enjoyed?
I toured with Brian Trejo, awesome man of God, child of God. Our lives get changed, God uses them. Antoine Hill, Five, you know, been on tour with No Big Deal, great man of God. Cannon, great man of God. Derek Minor, awesome man of God, one of my favorite people in the world, man. Biggest hearts, one of the biggest hearts I've ever seen. You know, I just see in all these artists, right, from every end of the spectrum, I just see that God is working in them uniquely, right? So for me, it helped me to realize, hey, I can't be Brian Trejo, I can't be Derek Minor, I can't be No Big Deal, but I can be Kurtis Hoppie, and to not be ashamed of who I am. You know, I'm a little bit of a spaz. I got a lot of energy and kind of funny. I'm kind of, you know, I'm depressed sometimes. I go through it, and that's okay. And I feel like that's what God showed me. It's like, you may be going through it, that's okay. You know, share that, because there's other people in and out of the church are struggling with that same exact thing. So don't be afraid to be transparent with the issues you still do struggle with. You know, don't be ashamed to be Kurtis. You know, I can't say I'm a biblical scholar nor a pastor, but I am someone who had his entire life transformed by Jesus. And I will always, always, always let people know that Jesus is the one who did it all.
Has there been a point during your tour, doesn't have to be anything specifically, but has there been a tour that you're like, God, why isn't there more people here? Why am I not seeing lives changed?
Well, you know, I mean, I feel like I always had this feeling of I never focused on now, right? I never focused on now because from the start it was never about the crowds, you know? From the start it was about Jesus. So it was like, I felt like the first day I started rapping, God had showed me that one day I would be in front of large crowds. One day I would be on in a coliseum. One day I would be in front of these large amounts of people. So I always went there to be people, more and more people, because first off, we want God to move in as many people as we want. Second off, it's great to have a crowd. Like, it's great to have people there to listen, who care, who love your music, who want to take pictures and buy your CD and get your merchandise. It's cool that people would care, you know? But at the same time, it's like, that's not why I'm here. So from the start, I've been like, it'll be here someday, you know? So whether there's 1 or 1,000 people here, I'm going to give it every single thing I've got. You know, everything I've got. And God has always provided. Always provided. So, you know, it's never been that big of an issue. If it was an issue, I wouldn't be out on the tour. You know, we came out Free2Worship. We're doing all these events for free. You know, tonight the church didn't even let us take a love offering. You know, so, like, nothing against the church or not, but like, yo, we're here, man. We're here. We're doing it. And it's not about the money, because money comes and goes, right? And God's going to grant us with all the riches and the treasures that we need. And our riches aren't even in money, you know. Our riches are in souls. Our riches are in people. And sometimes you got to learn how to love the one before God can put you in front of the thousands, you know.
And I heard that you recently got married.
Yes.
Can you tell the people how you met her and why?
August 8th is the day I got married to the love of my life. Her name's Kurtis Hoppie. She's amazing. She's right down there. She's folding up my merch and stuff. She's fantastic. I met her in 2016. I was actually ministering in a bar. Before I met Kingdom Music, before I did all that, I did Christian rap in the secular scene. It's kind of cool. I won Best New Artist the first year, Album of the Year the second year, in a secular scene. And it was crazy. And so I would go down, I opened for Bubba Sparks, I opened for Afro Man, and it's crazy. But I was out doing an event at a bar in Salem, Oregon. And I remember being on stage and I'm singing my song Resurrection off my first album ever, Resurrection, when I was 333 and not Kurtis Hoppie. And I was singing this song, and I remember seeing this girl all the way in the back, and she's walking straight, she's beelining straight at the stage, and I just felt this urge to look her in the eyes and say these lyrics, which I don't normally do. I struggle looking at anyone in the eyes. I'm getting better at that over time. But in this moment, I just felt this urge to say this to her, and it was, likely look inside and you will find your demons fighting, angels high and mighty win the war with Jesus guiding. And after that, she confided in me and was like, hey, those lyrics meant a lot to me. She had a boyfriend at the time, and my mind's completely on God, you know, so I'm not thinking in any weird type of way, you know. I mean, maybe I thought she was cute, but at the same time, it's like never a good look to find a girl in the middle of a bar while you're ministering, you know. So I ministered to her, and at the end she has me sign this paper, and I'm like, the Lord has amazing plans for you. You just have to be willing to listen. Time goes by, and I do this tour, and we couldn't get our rental, right? I happened to have her on my Snapchat, and I put a story up there, right? My mom wouldn't get my rental, my brother wouldn't get the rental. My card, the problem was my card was a debit card, so they were like, sorry, you need a full credit card. And so we're sitting there for 4 hours, and I just post this post online, and I'm like, hey, we are stuck here at this airport, and we're not gonna be able to do this tour if we don't get some sort of help. And she responds, she says, I'll help. And I'm like, what? Isn't this that girl we ministered to at the bar show, you know? And she shows up and pulls out her black card, and she's like, gets the thing for us, right? And I'm like, why did you do this? You know, I'm like, why are you here? Why did you do this? And she was like, I felt like if I didn't, which I think she was like, I feel like I know that God is with you, and if I didn't, I feel like I'd be being disobedient to God. And in that moment, I was like, oh, something special about this girl. And she's not even a Christian yet. She's just spiritual at this time. She's not even a Christian. She don't believe that Jesus is the Savior. She had never given her life to Jesus. And we do the tour. The tour is amazing. End up doing another bar show, right? She comes out to this bar show. This is 2007, going in 16 to 17. She shows up with her friend to this show. It's great. We end up going into the back of the green room, and as it's going into the New Year's, we're like, let's pray. Let's pray. Like, my friend Zay was with me, Zay Hill. I'm not gonna pray anything, but he's like, no, I don't do New Year's like normal people. I pray into the New Year's. I don't even want to scream. I want to celebrate God. So let's celebrate God. So we get in this prayer circle, and we're all just praying, and it just gets powerful. So it's me, Zay, Carly, and her best friend Karen. We're just praying all the way into the New Year's. And she ends up telling me that's the night that she gave her life to Jesus, right? She decided, I want to follow Jesus, right? So then time goes on. I'm still not pursuing her because I'm just kind of like going after God. I don't know. I've always just been so focused on what God has. It's like, yo, God will bring me my wife when the time is right. And so then she ends up messaging me, I think. Turns out she had gotten plugged into church. She had been going to church, and she's getting baptized. So she was excited about her baptism. She's like, hey, I'm getting baptized. And I'm like, what? So I calm down. I'm there for her baptism. And it was just like, wow, like, this girl is crazy, you know? But at this time, she don't really, I don't get the vibe that she likes me. And I'm not putting off a vibe that I'm like super like her or anything, you know? But time goes past, and she's a Christian. She's always coming to our shows and stuff like that. And this one moment, I just had this feeling like, hey, I think I really, really like this girl. You know, her and that boyfriend has been long gone. He was, you know, sold drugs and stuff like that. I think he cheated on her. Just, you know, a lot of bad things. So I don't know. It just ended up turning into love. I asked her to be my girlfriend after it was a journey. Finally, she became my girlfriend and ends up moving to Boise 2 months later, and we get married, and yeah, and now I'm the love of my life. I'm out here. She's out on tour with me right now. She's just waving to me when she's waving. And yeah, it's been the greatest thing ever. How God, like, He'll go such great lengths. He'll go great lengths to give you what is meant for you, what is rightfully yours, you know. And if I had my focus on anything other than Him, I don't know how. You know, I met her 2016. We got married in 2020. You know, and in that time, all I was doing was focusing on God, and also how God told me, hey, you need to take your eyes off of these women. A long time ago, before I even met her, take your eyes off of these women and focus on me, and I'll give you the woman. Basically, He's like, because where I'm taking you, there's going to be way more women and way prettier women than the ones that are right here. And those ones, if you can't handle these ones, you can't handle those ones. You know, like, so you keep your focus on me. And He actually started, and when I decided I was going to save myself to marriage, I made a decision one day, I'm going to save myself for marriage. And I went out and got a ring. And that's the moment that, like, I just felt God change something in my heart. I started seeing, like, the women that I used to be attracted to. I started seeing them and be like, and I would just feel this like a poison in me, right? Where like God would show me like bad news, no, you don't want that. No, you don't want that. And I would just see pain. It was weird. Like the girls that I would normally be like, ooh, I would literally look and just see pain. And it was just crazy, and it made it easy for me, like to focus on God, to focus on what He had for me, because I was like, I got no business surrounding these women. First off, because I don't got enough money to have a girlfriend. I barely have enough money to take care of myself, So it's like I was like, it's unfair for me to even jump into a relationship. So God gave me my wife at the right time, at the perfect time. Yeah, so it's good, man. It was good.
Last question. Before we go to the next person, is there a word that you want to share with people that are watching this later?
You are important. You are made specifically with a reason. That the Lord knew who you were before your parents knew who each other were. He had you in His mind. He had you in His thoughts. And we need to believe this. When we look in the mirror, we need to see this. That you were not an accident. You are the only you that God has. No one else in this world can be you. So don't try and be anyone else other than you. But make sure you're going after God. Give your life to God. Put your life in His hands and watch what He'll do. He will transform everything. He'll transform everything. But you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that God has a plan for you. You have to believe that God made you for a specific reason. You have to be willing to listen and willing to love yourself. Willing to forgive yourself. Because when you ask for forgiveness from God, you know it is forgiven. It's forgiven. And sometimes we fail to forgive ourselves. Sometimes we beat ourselves up. If you're in sin, if you're in the midst of sin, just know this. Every single person in this world has something that they're struggling with. Maybe not as often, or maybe not all the time, or whatever, but within ourselves there's something, whether hatred, bitterness, jealousy, envy, all these things. There's something that everyone's is dealing with. So don't be afraid. You could be addicted to meth right now. You could be addicted to drugs right now. You could be addicted to lust, porn, all these things. Don't wait to clean yourself up before you go to God. Come as you are. He loves you. He loves you. Even if you're trapped in a sin. I used to, think that if I can't just stop it, I can't even ask God. I can't even talk to God, But then I just realized I could be like, you know what? Lord, I'm struggling with this right now. You know what? I might keep struggling with this right now. I feel like this could never end. But Lord, help me. Help me, please take it away from me. I'm sorry. And don't let it destroy you. Don't let it destroy what God's doing in you, because He can still use you. Don't let the shame stop you from praising God. So keep going after Him, even in the midst of your lowest of times. And just say, Lord, just please, just talk to Him, because He loves you and He cares. And He understands. It's tough, but He can do it. Just believe in it and keep fighting for it. Never stop fighting.
Amen. Thank you.